Hi, hello. I just finished up my sales interview just a couple minutes ago. I changed out of my formal clothing, been relaxing for a bit. But yeah, I think the following footage I'm just gonna leave it uncut, just for you guys to see what it's maybe like. Maybe you learn something from it, maybe you don't. Maybe you see something I did wrong and something you could be doing better. But overall, I think I left a good impression. Now, it didn't record the entire thing. My phone just stopped recording at a random point, but hopefully this is still informative. I think I handled it really well, honestly. I mean, as you can see, I don't have much to work with. I was just on the floor the whole time, just a laptop in front of me, but I genuinely think it's all about how you sell yourself. And I think I sold myself pretty well, and I was told I would hear back at the end of the interview. Though, one thing I did do is I asked them, like, hey, do you have any objections against hiring me? They're like, you know what, no, nothing really. The only thing I do see is that you seem very driven, and like I'm really looking for that in people. But I'm also like, I'm wondering if like you would be able to put on a student mentality. Like, how well would you be able to kind of like sit down and just learn and like be instructed with our system? And I was like, you know what? That's fair. That's fair, because driven people like me usually like they kind of want to do things their own way, or like they can be hard to instruct. That's what happened at the end. And after that, she was like, we'll let you know. And I was like, all right, sounds good. I hope I get the job. I really like it. Pays good. It seems like I'd be learning a lot. But yeah, there's the next like 30, 40 minutes. I hope you enjoy. I'm in the waiting room. I decided to join 10 minutes early, just so get an impression that I'm here to do business. I arrive early because I'm that type of person. I'm that type of worker. So let's see. Maybe we'll get started sooner than 1:45. It's 1:35 right now. Let's just wait a bit.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great. How's your afternoon going so far?
Fantastic. I'm excited to be here.
Nice, good deal. Well, appreciate you jumping on. My name's Chad. It's Marino? Am I saying that right? Or
Mariano. I also go, like, I know that's hard to pronounce, so I've started going by Hans as well.
Hans? Like
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
All right. All right. No worries. I mean, I can Mario. Say it one more time.
Mariano.
Honor. Okay, cool. You got to know the different vowels and
Yeah, the
good
R's.
deal. Mhm. Gotta like to be able to ask. I hate mispronouncing someone's name, so
Yeah,
appreciate you being cool with it. Cool. Well, like I said, I appreciate you jumping on today. Today's really for you to get to know our business a little bit more, get to know about who we are, what we do, see if it's the right fit for you. But it's also for me to see if you're right fit for what we're looking for.
sounds
Sound
good.
good?
Yep.
Awesome. Cool. I got your resume up in front of me. Got some questions from it, but tell me just a little bit about yourself. Who you are, what you like to do for fun, what you're looking for, things that I can't read on your resume.
Yeah, sure thing. I actually think I can actually show you one of the things that I like to do for fun that's really like important to me is video production. So I have my lights set up here. I have my microphone right next to me, and I have a camera off to my side. Making YouTube for videos is, I think, an integral part of one of my long-term goals.
Okay.
I kind of want to use it as a way to build a strong community with the niche that I find myself in, and then use that community to network with some really successful like models that I see on YouTube, like the people that I like to watch and learn from. Like one day I want to be sort of like good enough that I can be like, hey, let's collaborate, let's team up together.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay.
Mhm.
What got you into doing that?
I think it was I've just always had an interest in like watching YouTube videos based on entrepreneurship, business, personal development. And it really like it changed when I decided to leave college earlier this year, like about I'd say like it's been 2 months now that I really started to delve into it. And one thing that I noticed was that the YouTubers that I saw like captivate me the most and like really hook me into watching the video for the entire session, they were all talking about salesmanship. They all had a background in sales, and they all attributed their like speaking style and their success to sales. So I was immediately like, okay, I need to learn I want to get a piece of this so that I can make better videos, so that I can like fulfill my long-term goal to have my own business, to be wealthy, to be successful. So that's kind of
Sure.
what it's all just, it's part of a big plan, and it's been fun while doing it.
Okay. Okay. Well, cool. Well, hey, that's a good start, right?
Yeah.
And it's a great thing that you recognize sales is one of the most important things because you can't sell. You can try to sell a product or service, but if you can't sell yourself,
Yeah.
people buy from people they like,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless a person has a very niche product that they can only get from that one person, people can buy a product from anywhere.
Yeah.
So why do they buy the product? Well, because they like the person. So
Yep.
that's how I talk about it, and that's what and whatnot. So I believe in that wholeheartedly. Our sales, and I'll talk more about our business in a minute, but our sales is, yeah, do we sell a product and service for clients? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, it's learning how to sell yourself. It's learning how to have
Yeah.
conversations with people you didn't know you're going to have conversations with.
Yeah.
If you
Mm-hmm.
do that, then you can ultimately do it down the road in a much bigger capacity or a bit different options. So very cool. So that's awesome. You went to University of California in Santa Barbara, huh?
Correct. Yes.
All right. So how did you like Santa Barbara? I used to live in LA, so I've been to Santa Barbara many times. Did you enjoy living out there?
Um, I think that like the Isla Vista community near the college, it wasn't too great. Like we had beaches and it was like very sunny and it was a great weather. But I think the main selling point is the beaches. But I never understood it because our beaches are filled with tar. It isn't until
Yeah.
we go downtown, which is a little bit of a trip, that like we get the nice beaches. So I really liked the weather. I liked the atmosphere. I liked being around young people. But I didn't really enjoy like any of the beach. The main thing that was the selling point there.
Sure, absolutely. I hadn't been to Isla Vista area
Yeah.
in years, in many years. So, but there's definitely that little community there in Isla Vista. It's
Yeah.
like it's pretty fun. I mean, I don't know. It's just a lot of it's very tight knit, I guess
It
you would say,
is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. So very cool. So most recently, what have you been doing for work? I saw like restaurant waiter and like worked at Domino's a little bit, but tell me a little bit more on that.
Yeah. I moved from California to Texas, and I left my job at Domino's. Back there, I was a customer service rep. That's pretty much what I was doing. I was also an assistant manager, so I had some management role and customer service really.
Okay.
So I got to learn quite a lot from those. It was funny because actually the one thing I wish I had done better at Domino's, I'm really proud of the work that I did, but there was one thing, and it was that our supervisors were always like pushing us to sell more coupons. And everyone there was like, oh, coupon selling. I was one of them too. I'm like, man, what's in it for me? I'm like,
Sure.
what do I have to do this for? So I kind of had a hard time with it. And then I moved here, and I'm like, if I want to get into a sales role, I really wish I'd actually capitalized on that opportunity. They're like, sure, it was just like coupons for Domino's, but really it's about learning what to say and what to do. So that's one
Absolutely.
thing I wish I would have done better over there. And I texted my manager, I'm like, yeah, when like we had to do this, I actually wish I would have paid more attention. But
Absolutely.
I learned quite a bit, especially with management. This is my first time being a manager in any situation, and it taught me a lot about like how to communicate with the people I needed to delegate roles to.
Sure. What type of leadership did you kind of authoritize over others, would you say?
It was My role was mainly there was the manager, and then there was me, and then there was I think seven other employees. So I had to. The hardest part for me to do was when I had to let someone go home early, because our supervisor would send us a message like, "Hey, you guys are overemployed right now. You need to send two people home," and I would be like, "Okay." So one of the biggest responsibilities for me was having that conversation like, hey, I'm sorry, but I gotta let you go home early today. And apart from that, it was mainly like making sure that everyone was meeting their responsibilities. So for my side of things, there are the drivers, and then there are the people making the food, dealing with customers. I was mainly in charge of the customers. I did have like say half responsibility with the drivers, but it was mainly in charge of the customer service representatives. So I had to make sure that our food area was well stocked, and that we were sweeping it up, sweeping everything up. We were making pizzas correctly because we have the whole grading system. Yeah, just say my main responsibility was making sure that when we weren't busy, though we weren't just sitting around, that we were actually like preparing for our next rush of food orders.
Gotcha. Makes
Hmm.
sense. How many people? You said like 7 or 8 people is kind of what you oversaw.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Do you feel like you got a good taste of leadership and development in that type of position?
I think so. Yes, I think it was really good for someone who's like young and just starting out. It was like definitely the best like introduction because I had to work with a lot of people like my age, so it was easy to communicate with them. But I also had to work with a lot of people much older than me, and they were like sort of the ones that I had to be like, why should they listen to me? I just got here like 2 months ago. I'm like 20 years older than them, so it was a
Yep.
good introduction.
Absolutely. Okay. Good. What motivates you? What gets you fired up to be the best version of yourself every day?
Ooh, that's a great question because I definitely am. What motivates me? I think I just want to do it. I just
Yeah.
I've always wanted to compete. One of the big reasons why I left college was because I kind of felt that there was no environment that really stimulated growth. It was more like passive, like, oh, it's okay, take your time, do this and that. But like I really wanted to I wish someone over there, like friends or professors would have been like, you're kind of not good at this. And you need to get much better at this and quickly. That's kind of the type of environment that I like where I'm like, man, you're right. I'm not good at this. Thank you for telling me that because I kind of want to suffer. I enjoy suffering. I enjoy being in uncomfortable situations. I really enjoy it when I go home at night and I'm overwhelmed and I'm like, wow, like I suck today and I need to get better.
Yeah.
It's fun for me.
Well, and you probably have heard this term before, but being uncomfortable will create comfortability eventually,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So, you know, get comfortable with being uncomfortable is what I tell my guys and girls,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're not, if you're just comfortable, then you're typically not growing.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that in some people's mind. Some people they're perfectly fine being stagnant and just earning a hourly wage or just
Hmm.
a basic paycheck and going through life, and that's totally fine. People that want to have great opportunities, whether it's entrepreneurship or whatever it may be, those aren't going to be those people.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
very good. Cool. Are you from the Texas area or and went out to Santa Barbara, or is moving here to Texas new for you?
Completely new. I moved here because my sister and her small family live here. So I'm like, oh, hey, can I come like spend some time with you guys, spend a year with you guys? And they're like, yeah, sure, come over.
Yeah.
But I've spent my entire life in California.
Okay. Where? All in the Santa Barbara area, or where did you live in California?
Now, the first 18 years was in Northern California in a small town called Healdsburg in Sonoma County. And
Okay.
then the last three have been in Santa Barbara.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I spent about 11 years in the LA area. So,
Mm, yeah,
my brother lives up in Oakland and stuff now, and he
yeah,
lived
yeah.
up there for 10 years or so. So, know that area. But okay. How are you liking Texas so far?
Um, it's been cool. I've spent most of my time in this room because I like making videos. I like learning new things. I've just kind of been creating, but the few times I've gone outside, I've been like, oh, it's hot, but it's also I like the attitude that people have here. They seem to be much more like respectful than California. I've
Yeah.
been hearing a
Yeah.
lot. a lot of like yes sirs, yes ma'ams, and I'm like, oh, this is nice.
Dude, you're in the South now,
Yeah,
absolutely. So, but yeah, absolutely, it is hot. It is definitely a big change on that aspect.
yeah.
So, okay, cool, good deal. Um, what's like the challenge you've had to overcome in your life, and how did you do so?
I think one of the important one was getting to really be okay with the fact that I was probably meant to be an entrepreneur of some sorts, um, and I didn't fit in with college at all. The When I first graduated high school, I was talking to all my friends and family like, hey, I actually want to go into like my idea was just business. I don't know how. I can't tell you how I'm going to do it, but I want to do something there. But I got pushed. Like I had a really good deal. College for me was free, didn't have to pay. So I was like, okay, I'll go. I'll go and see what it's like. Worst 3 years of my life. I don't know why, but I had a really tough time being. It was just a slower environment for me, and it killed me. Like going back to like what motivates me is like a big part of it is just that if I'm slow, if I'm not like really doing much, for like 3 days, if that happens for 3 days and I'm not doing much, I don't know. I start to hate myself. I start to feel terrible. I feel bad, and I'm like, man, I gotta get up and running. And
Yeah,
it was really really hard to get out of an environment that was more slow. That was more slow paced. I mean, it took me 3 years to be able to finally do like what I thought was right for myself, and that meant having to completely take responsibility for everything in my life, which meant that anything I actually turned down a lot of scholarship money in my last year of college because I realized that like I didn't have to work. My rent was paid for. Any time I wanted to go out to eat, I had the money to do it. Anything I wanted to buy myself, I had the money to do it. My life was easy. So I turned down all the scholarship money. I turned down any familial help. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go get myself a job. I'm gonna take more classes, and everything that I want in my life, I'm gonna get it myself. And that was really like a big defining moment because that level of responsibility, I still have it today. Where just like, if I want something, I have to do it for myself, and that's really what changed it all. That's what Because I soon realized that like, wow, it's okay for me to be like who I am, to be an entrepreneur, to want to like always be working and creating something, and to just wanted to have that level of responsibility and accountability for my life.
right, absolutely. Hey, that's a good. I like that. I mean, and that's pretty impressive that you decided to do that because not
Yeah,
very many people would, obviously, right?
yeah,
A lot of people, especially in, let's be honest, I'm sure you see it, but the younger generation, and I'm
yeah.
sure you hear people saying that, a lot of them will take the easy road right now, right?
I think so
And
too.
what's wrong? And I think back in other generations when they were younger too, they probably would have if they had the ability, but they didn't have that ability sometimes,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's the biggest key on that. So okay, very cool. Um, how do you feel about like mentoring other people? Is that something that you want to get better at? Is that something that you enjoy doing?
Yes, I would love to do it. I The hard part for me is finding someone who I think I would benefit because I feel that like large disconnect between me and most people my age. I think that I'm just like more fast paced, more like I'm more willing to suffer and more willing to like work so much harder. And when I say those things to people and I'm like, hey, you could be doing a lot more here, I think my biggest problem is I don't know how to communicate with people who aren't as driven as I am. And that I think is one of my biggest weaknesses because it affects my friendships, it affects my relationships, it affects anything with anyone. Is I really want to learn how to communicate with people who maybe don't have as big aspirations as I do. Because I've come to notice that like I'm losing friends, I'm losing like my relationships with people are deteriorating because of my high drive. So
Sure, sure.
I'd love to learn how to mentor other people and how to communicate and build better relationships.
Gotcha. I don't know if you've heard this or not, but there's a saying: you are who you are with the five people you surround yourself the most with,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you surround yourself with the same type of drive, and you're going to obviously grow,
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you surround yourself with people that are not that way, well, it sounds like you've lost those type of relationships
Yeah.
with that, or you're gonna, or they're gonna hold you one back, right? One of the two.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you've heard that term or that saying before, but it's definitely out there in the entrepreneurial,
Yeah.
very self growth mentality type of mindset. So and there's a lot of books and podcasts and stuff out there about that all and whatnot. So very cool. What do you know about our business? What do you know about what we do?
Yeah. I saw through your website. What I'm getting right now is that you don't have a product to sell. You offer services. I'm actually a little confused. It seems like you are the salesman for other companies, if I get that correctly. Like,
That is exactly it. Yes.
okay, yeah. That's all I know. I was really like, I've never seen that before. I'm like, oh, so I would like the role you're looking for, the salesman that you have. Do you guys then have to learn like all the company's products and their information, and you answer
Correct.
questions on their behalf?
Kind of, yeah. So here, let me explain it a little bit more in detail for you.
Yeah.
So, and let me tell you a little bit about myself too and how I got into this business because I think that some people can relate to it, some people can't. It just depends. But I've been in the
Mm-hmm.
business 9.5 years. I was out in LA and I was in restaurant management. I was actually a general manager of a couple different restaurants, and I hated every single day of my life going to work. It was a job for me. I didn't. It was not a
Yeah.
career. Um, and then, and I don't fault anybody for it. There's some people that are great restaurant managers,
Mm-hmm.
and they make a good career out of it. It just was not what I wanted in my life, right? And so I started looking around and realizing, okay, sales and developing people is where I need to be. Entrepreneurship. My dad was an entrepreneur all of his working career. Um, when I was 13 years old, I created a lawn mowing company and hired like four of my friends, right?
Yeah.
So, no, that was very small monetary and,
Yeah.
paying my friends $5, $10, $15 or whatever out of doing a $20 or $30 lawn care, whatever it was, right? But I had that mentality. And so I knew that's where I needed to be for a career. Started looking around, did not want to get into the real estate market because it's just such a volatile up and down market. Didn't want to put all my eggs in that basket. Insurance sales looked like it was going to be the boringest thing in the world. And I couldn't do it. And then I came across our business, went in for the interview process, just like you're doing with me today, and sat down with the director and really got to understand the business and the business model and the clients. And so
Yeah.
the clients were one of the things that really kind of like highlighted a lot for me initially,
Mm-hmm.
because they are all big Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah.
We're visiting AT&T, T-Mobile. We recently in our office in LA right now is working with Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
some solar companies, etc. And so I'm like, these are big companies that they could do it themselves, but
Yeah.
they choose to outsource their sales. Well, why was my main question. And the why was, well, it brings higher revenue and higher margins instead of doing it themselves, right? That's what I learned. And so I was like, okay, that makes sense. And with these big name brands, I was enthusiastic on it because I was like, they're not going anywhere. Verizon is not
Mm-hmm.
going out of business.
Oh,
AT&T,
yeah.
right? So there wasn't a worry in my mind that one day I just wouldn't have a client to work with.
Yeah.
And that to me is kind of, I wouldn't call it job security, but I think it's um, there's not an obsolescence fear factor there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes,
And
yeah.
so I like that. And then the next thing that the director told me, which is what sent me over the edge of saying yes to this business, he said, the business is a non-seniority based business, so people grow based on their
Mm-hmm.
performance. And I love that, right?
Yeah.
Because I knew if I had a goal to reach, I would outwork anybody to hit my goals. And that's just the mentality that I had. And so when he said that, I pretty much was all in at that point. Obviously, I got off the job, took the job. It took me 13 months from day one to get to an assistant market director position. And then another few months, and then I got the opportunity to run my own office out in the Inland Empire. I'm sure you know that term of the LA market. I don't know if you knew.
I
You know
don't
LA.
know.
Well, just about 45 minutes inland of LA is what they call the Inland Empire.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So I moved there, and that's where I ran my first market with T-Mobile on a business-to-business sales program.
Mm-hmm.
Did that for about 4.5 years, and then I got the opportunity to move out to the Midwest and work with AT&T. And then I moved here actually to DFW last year, just a little bit over a year ago, still with AT&T, and then just wrapped up our AT&T agreement and been working with Verizon. That's our main campaign right now. Verizon on their 5G home internet services. And then
Mm-hmm.
you want to know this because California is not a deregulated market, but Texas for energy, for people's home energy,
Yeah.
it's called deregulation. So a consumer has the choice of what company to get, right? So out in California, PG&E or SoCal Edison or
Yeah.
in Texas, there's 30 different energy companies that a consumer can choose from. And so we're working with Reliant Energy on their sales program right now. So those are the two major clients we're working with. And what we do for them is sell their products and services, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Verizon, 5G home internet, over the last 5-10 years, Verizon has recognized that home internet is going to be wireless in the future. Landline, type of internet is gonna go away. It's gonna be wireless, right? So they've been putting in billions of dollars to build out their 5G networks
Yeah.
to include wireless home internet, right? So like for an instance, like there where you live now, who do you guys use for your internet at home?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but
But I know, I mean, yeah, but you're new to there, so I guess
yeah.
your home. But if it's landline, if it's like wired internet, it's probably Spectrum or AT&T.
Yeah.
Well, wireless internet is going to be the future of home internet eventually, and so Verizon is on that forefront. They've been on the forefront of the telecommunications systems for years and years and years, right? Multiple decades. When people think of Verizon, they think of two things. They think of the best. It's the best servers, best networks, and sometimes they think the most money though, costs the most, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thing is what we do is we show them it does not cost the most, right?
Got it.
We for people's bills, we give them a better product, we give them better services, etc. And so that's the idea on the Verizon side. It's all face-to-face interaction, face-to-face sales, because again, people, especially when it comes to technology, they want to do it face-to-face.
Yeah.
Yes, they go on the internet, they can search it out, but if they don't know what they're doing and what they're looking for, they don't know all these numbers and letters.
Mm-hmm.
5G and 5GE, all this stuff. They don't know what it means, right? They want someone to explain it, so it's a face-to-face interaction. So what we don't do though, we're not in retail stores. We're not in a big box retail store. We're not in a brick and mortar. It's all at the consumer's homes. It's all lead-based systems. So we get leads from Verizon
Mm-hmm.
to notify us where we're going and what we're doing, who we're talking to. Now, it doesn't mean we know house A, customer A called into Verizon and said, hey, I want someone to come to my house for this, because they would just do it over the phone, obviously.
Yeah.
But we know the details behind it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, so we would be like driving down to the customer's area.
Correct.
Got it.
Yep. So all out in the field, we call it field
Mm-hmm.
work, obviously. But what I will tell you, and so like that's Verizon on energy on the Reliance side. It's literally similar. It's still lead based, but it's really a knock and talk business there. We're trying to figure out who someone has, how we can save them money. That's purely it, is can we save them money, because no one really cares about who their energy comes from, as long as it comes from somewhere and but as long as they don't have a lower bill, that's what people care about.
Yeah.
People want to save money. So that's that aspect of it. Now, do we do sales? We 100% do sales. I will never tell someone we don't. But what I'm not looking for is a career salesperson. Okay. What I'm looking for is someone that wants to grow, just like I did, into a leadership role, that can start to learn how to teach and develop others, mentor others, eventually manage a small group of people, and then eventually move
Yeah.
up into the director role where they manage a large group of people for a market. So let me do this. I'm going to actually share my screen with you. Do you have any questions real quick before I share my screen?
No, I think I understood that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So those are the clients, some of the top clients, like I already mentioned some of those. But everybody, does not matter what kind of experience or no experience they have, they come in as an account executive. Okay. And this is phases, it's a very fast phase, 2 to 4, 2 to 6 weeks. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about learning basics, learning the strategies, learning how to self-manage oneself.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold their hands and baby them for the entire time. Again, I'm going to give them all the tools they need. But one thing I don't do is I don't micromanage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they need help, I will give it to them. If they are not moving forward and growing, I will help them develop, as long as they put in the work themselves too.
Yeah.
Right? Um, but having good attitude, learning good public speaking skills, just having fun, making some money doing that phase. What I'm looking for is consistency. Can they consistently just do some sales? I'm not looking for them to be a master yet. I'm not looking for them to be the best of the best, but can they consistently do it? Then they're going to move up to the team lead position. This is where they're going to really start to grow their responsibilities. They're going to start learning how to teach others. They're going to learn leadership skills. They're going to learn skills of how to recognize other people's learning styles,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's three major learning styles out there: kinesthetic, auditory, and visual. Um, Kinesthetic being hands-on. I'm a very hands-on kinesthetic person. If someone tries to teach me in a visual or just an auditory way, I'm not learning it.
Yeah.
I'll give you a really good example about this. About 8 weeks, 2 months, maybe 3 months ago, I was on a call with some people from Verizon, and we were going over this new lead mapping system. And they were just like talking, doing it. And I'm like, I have zero idea what they did until
Yeah.
I actually opportunity to actually do it myself. I have zero idea. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's that idea of it. So teaching people how to do that, teaching people how to do interviews like we're doing today, is what I do during this phase. People start to master the sales skills, and start managing a small group of people. And the biggest thing is their skills have to be replicable. They have to be able to take their skills and teach it to others. If they can do that for 4 to 8, 4 to 10 people, then they should be able to do it to 10 to 15 and 15 to 20 people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the assistant market director position comes in. They're starting to manage a little bit larger, the office, manage more people. They're going to start learning the back ends of the business, the KPIs, the finances, budgeting, all of that good stuff. And then eventually, we want people in market director positions. We want to open up new markets. When we open up new markets for our clients, what does it do? It creates new revenue, creates new sales, which, with more money to the clients, means more money back to us. Does that all make sense to you?
Yeah.
So that's our business. I'm very, very open with the growth program. because I want people to have that as a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to be able to do it. And so that is the idea of the business, the business model. So do you have any questions on that?
Um, I don't think so now.
Okay. Proper training, obviously, because proper training is key to anything. Can you see yourself learning a direct face-to-face sales role for the clients that we have, like I mentioned, Verizon, Reliant, etc., and getting into a position to grow in this type of a program?
I can see myself learning like the sales aspect of it, but I don't know if I can see myself becoming a director, honestly.
Okay, and why? Tell
Because
me why.
one of my long-term goals is to sort of like not be a part of like a company, like be the head of a company, and then always like be at the top of something. Like when I'm like 30, I want to have my own thing and have people be under me, just because I think that's the type of freedom that I'm looking for.
Mhm.
But I've never like thought about like managing a whole like branch for someone else's company.
So, as a director, that's your own company.
Hmm.
So, mm, I was in a business, I started in LA, right?
Yeah.
American Ridge Management is my company. So, when we promote someone up to a market director position,
Hmm.
the company, it's their business. And then they're building people in the same pathway as they moved up. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yes. But would it like is it a completely different entity, or is it like part of some sort of franchise or like?
Completely different entity. We have
Mhm.
a brokerage firm that we work with that holds the contracts to our clients. So I don't have to go out and find new clients, right? So when Amazon came about, it was our brokerage firm that brokered the deal to then go and work with Amazon doing sales for them. We've
Mhm.
obviously been working with Verizon and AT&T for many, many years. So well before our brokerage firm has, well before I came into this business. But once I got to the market director position, it's me.
Yeah.
And you can look it up. The excuse me, the office in LA, the business name is Dynamic Edge Consulting. That's where I started.
Hmm.
But when I got moved through this and got to the point of taking on my own market, I created my own business entity. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, so in as a market director, someone has the freedom to do really what they want. Now, we would suggest and highly encourage you follow the same systems because we know
Hmm.
they won't.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to do something completely different, then they can, right? So now that's down the road.
Yeah.
The idea to get there is someone has to learn a lot of things first.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, there's some people that come into our business and they get really good at sales. They get really good at managing others and leading and developing others, and they go off and do something else. And that's perfectly okay. Not everybody has to be a market director.
Hmm.
What we want is we would love everybody to, as long as they fit the model of going through the training program.
Yeah.
But as long as someone comes in the business and gives it them their all, that's really that matters. You know, I have a good buddy of mine that was in the business back in LA, and now he's in the financial world, and he contributes his growth in the financial world to knowing how to lead and develop a team because now he
Hmm.
leads a team in the financial world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just that. So that's that. Let me talk to you a little bit about the compensation because I mean money's important, obviously. People got to make money, right? Um, So we're a Monday through Friday business. Saturdays are what I call optional mandatory. They're mandatory if someone is not at standards for the week.
Got it. Yeah.
And in my mind, if you're not at standards, you should probably put in a little extra work,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, if someone is at standards and wants to work more, then fine, so be it. They can. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to about 11:30, 12 o'clock-ish, we do a little bit of hybrid. Sometimes we're on Zoom doing different trainings and developments. Sometimes we're in an office space in North Dallas. So just a little bit of, depends on the day and what we got going on, right? 1 to 7 is when we're out in the field doing sales. Okay. So that's that. The standards for the week is 10 products sold in a week is our minimum standards.
Mm-hmm.
Why I came up with 10 products sold is when it comes to the compensation, 10 products sold will generally bring someone home around $900 to $1,700 a week, which is, in my mind, really good money, especially in an entry role of sales. Okay. My top performers, they're doing 2,000 plus a week. Okay. So monetary, the money's there if people work hard. As someone grows into the assistant market director, they're making 90 to 150K pretty much annually if they were to stay in that role. And then as a market director, 150 to 300K is where it's at. People, I mean, my good buddy who runs an office out in Ohio on the energy campaign, he's projected, if everything stays the same, to make roughly about 480K this year. So I keep telling him he's going to be buying golf for the next year. He's buying it around next year. So, but yeah, so I mean, the money's there with hard work. The freedom's there with hard work. People say money can't buy you happiness, and I say it's a lie. I'm like, well, those people typically have never had money.
Yeah.
Because happiness is dependent on the individual. If you're happy by traveling, well, then money can buy you that. If you're happy by giving back to, through volunteer work or donations or whatnot, well, money can do that, right? So money can buy happiness, and money can buy freedom,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the idea, and that's kind of where my goals have been over the years. And so, yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. So proper training, you feel like this could be a fit to at least start into?
Definitely, yeah.
Don't look at the
Yeah.
market direct position yet, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
until you get into a business and started learning and developing, that's down the road. But
Yeah.
in the beginning, you feel like learning those type of situations and sales, would that be something that you could see yourself growing in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good. Why do you think you'd be successful in that stage of the business?
I think I am very good at like coming off as an honest person and as someone who can communicate well. So that's where the audio clipped off. I hope you got something from that. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video if you decide to come back. Have a nice day. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. And goodbye.